Caio Borralho will outlast Nassourdine Imavov.
In Paris, we have another top middleweight contender fight between number 2 ranked Imavov and 7th ranked Borralho, and we're gonna end up with a middleweight challenger for Khamzat Chimaev's title.
I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight, but I'm there to make him pay for his own mistakes. I know that I didn't leave any holes in my preparation. Now we're just starting to achieve our dreams. I'm definitely ready to seize the moment.
Everybody that sees these glasses must be afraid because we're the fighters. We're coming to take over.
Imavov vs Borralho are set for the main event of UFC Paris, and although Imavov is streaking and although he is perceived to be the favorite going into this fight, I'm here to tell you that Caio Borralho will not only beat Imavov, but he'll outlast him as well. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm JuicyMMA, I make opinionative MMA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. Also, if you guys are enjoying the content and want to support the channel, be sure to hit that join button for members only live streams, videos, alongside with other perks as well. But anyways, let's get into it. Ever since making it to the UFC, it always felt as if Caio Borralho was going to be a very talented and a very successful fighter in the UFC. As early on, all Caio did was win, as in 2022 and 2023 he had 2 undefeated back-to-back years. But although he was winning, there were some complaints. Even though Caio was going up against competition that was seen to be not nearly as good or as talented as Caio Borralho was, he was still beating these guys via decisions. And usually when you talk about prospects going up against much lower level competition, you would like to see them finish their opponents, but for Caio, he wasn't really able to do that in 2022 or in 2023. But in 2024, everything completely changed for Borralho, as he was finally starting to put his striking together and the finishes were starting to come as well. As in his first fight that year, he ended up TKOing Paul Craig in the 2nd round, and in his fight after that versus Jared Cannonier, although it technically wasn't a TKO, in that 5th round of that fight, it probably should have been called. But regardless of the actual outcome of that performance, it was pretty clear that in both of his fights in 2024, but especially the Jared Cannonier fight, that Caio Borralho was finally starting to put things together and his striking was looking significantly improved. But a question that some of you may be wondering at this point is, what specifically does Caio Borralho do out there that makes him so successful? Well, in my opinion, I think it comes down to a couple different factors, but the first factor I want to touch upon is his striking. Because when you watch Caio Borralho strike out there, it is pretty simple. He utilizes a jab, a left straight, as well as a leg kick. And although his skill set isn't nearly as diverse as maybe some other successful strikers in the UFC, at the end of the day, Caio is still able to make it work. And because of his timing, because of his speed, and because of his power, he is a very effective striker at this point. And we saw that specifically in his fight versus Jared Cannonier, as his 1-2 in the 5th round nearly put out Cannonier. But the next factor for why I think Caio Borralho has been so successful thus far is due to his grappling. Now, when you look at Borralho's UFC record, he only has 1 submission officially, but I think the main reason why Borralho doesn't have more submissions on his record is based on the way he fights and not based on the fact that he doesn't have good jiu-jitsu. Because there has been a couple of fights in the UFC where Caio has shown really good high-level grappling. Finding takedowns, finding submissions, or even threatening submissions in certain positions have all been shown by Caio Borralho. But if Caio doesn't look to grapple all that much in his fights, why do I think this is a big reason for why he's been so successful thus far? Well, in my opinion, because Caio has shown a really high-level grappling ability and a really high-level jiu-jitsu ability, I think it deters other fighters from looking for takedowns. And when you're going into a fight on the feet and you don't have to worry about getting taken down at all, that is a pretty big advantage. So I do think the grappling threat is also a huge reason for why Borralho has been so successful thus far. But the last reason for why I think Caio has had so much success in the UFC thus far is due to his physicality. Because I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but physicality is extremely important. And what I mean when I'm talking about physicality is your ability to hit hard as well as your ability ability to take a shot really well. And I think if you look back at Borralho's fight against Jared Cannonier, he showed both of those abilities off very well, as he was able to take a lot of big shots from Cannonier and he was relatively unfazed. And when you talk about Cannonier, he's a guy that has a ton of power, but when Caio was able to land a big left hand of his own, he was able to hurt Jared Cannonier pretty significantly, hurting him twice throughout the fight. And as I said before, in that 5th round, I thought that fight probably should have been stopped. So I do think the physicality of Caio Borralho is very significant and is also a huge reason for why he's been so successful thus far. But the next question that some of you may be wondering at this point is, why do I think Caio Borralho is going to get past Nassourdine Imavov? Well, in my opinion, this comes down to a couple different factors, but the first factor I want to touch upon is about Nassourdine Imavov himself. Because when you watch Imavov fight out there, he is a really talented and skilled fighter. On the feet, he does have a pretty diverse skill set. He is extremely fast. He does have pretty good power on the feet. He has decent grappling. There is a lot of things to like about Imavov's game. But one thing I don't think Imavov does well when going up against higher level competition is winning minutes. Because when you look back at both of his fights versus Israel Adesanya and Jared Cannonier, both Jared and Izzy were able to do the better work throughout the most part of that fight. Now eventually Imavov was able to land a big shot on Adesanya, knocking him out from there. He was also able to find a finish on Jared Cannonier with a huge shot, but at the end of the day, he wasn't really winning minutes. And if he's not winning minutes versus Caio Borralho, I think it's going to be much more difficult to find a finish over him as compared to Cannonier or Adesanya. As I touched upon before, Caio Borralho is very physical, and he's able to take a shot really well. So even if Imavov is able to land a big shot or a couple big shots on Caio, I do think he'll be able to take those shots a lot better than guys like Jared Cannonier or Israel Adesanya were able to. But the next reason for why I think Caio will be able to make it past Imavov is due to his leg kicks. Because when you watch a lot of Imavov fights out there, he doesn't really check kicks all that well. And as I touched upon before, leg kicks are a big part of Caio Borralho's game. So I do think Caio will be able to land a bunch of leg kicks, and eventually that's going to zap some of the power away from Nassourdine Imavov if he doesn't look to check kicks. And outside of just zapping the power away from Imavov, if Caio is able to land a bunch of leg kicks and he's able to hurt the leg of Nassourdine, eventually Nassourdine is going to be looking for some of those leg kicks coming his way, leaving some openings in other areas. And at that point, maybe Caio can land a big 1-2, hurting Nassourdine and potentially even finding a finish from there, or he'll just be able to land more shots after softening up the legs. But the next reason for why I think Caio Borralho will make it past Nassourdine Imavov is due to the cardio. Because when you watch Imavov fight out there, it's not like he has terrible cardio, but if you are able to push a pace on this guy, pressure this guy, shoot in for takedowns, and utilize a lot of those techniques, you could certainly tire this guy out. So I do think in a 5-round fight, if Caio is able to have some success early, as the fight does progress and as Caio is pressuring more and shooting in for takedowns more against Imavov, I do think he can certainly start to zap the gas tank of Nassourdine Imavov. And once Imavov starts to get more tired, he'll start to leave more openings and start to leave potential openings for finishes that Caio Borralho can capitalize on. So I do think the gas tank differences between these two guys is also going to be a huge reason for why I think Caio Borralho will make it past Nassourdine Imavov. But if I had to give an official prediction for this fight, I would lean with a Caio Borralho decision victory. Now I wouldn't be totally shocked if Caio was able to find a finish in the latter half of the fight, maybe in round 4 or in round 5, but at this point officially I would predict a decision victory for Caio Borralho, with physicality, leg kicks, and pressure being the 3 main factors in a potential Caio Borralho victory. Now as I mentioned before, this fight is a #1 contender fight, so if Caio Borralho is able to get a victory here, he will get the title shot. But as I touched upon before in a couple videos or even in a couple live streams, I do think both Imavov and Caio Borralho are a little bit of a step behind the champion. So even though I do think these guys are both high-level fighters, I don't think they're going to be able to beat the champion at that point. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening in this fight. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Caio Borralho has a chance to make it past Imavov, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these 2 videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.